Hey, what is up guys? Guitar here, welcome back to another Brave 9 video. Alright, so happy New Year, happy 2021, and if I haven't wished you guys yet, I think this will be our first Brave 9 video of the year. I am recording this on January the 1st of 2021, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to edit it and publish it on the same day. And today's focus, we're going to talk a little bit about Nartus. Alright, something that I hope that we can clear some things, especially for the new players out there, and even for some of the veteran players out there who thinks that Nartus is strong. Alright, and Nartus is very unique in his own rights, not to take that away from him. And we're going to talk about why he's outclassed in the current meta. Let's jump into it. Alright, so first things first, before we jump and talk about Nartus, obviously I want to help you guys to understand his skills better. And I know a lot of players actually skip the reading skills part, and this is actually very crucial in understanding how good a character is. In terms of stats, it's not so important, alright? Most, I think, legendaries or 5 stars, they have pretty balanced stats overall, but the skills are what makes or breaks them, right? So in Nartus' case, alright, we're gonna go ahead and look at plus 12. So plus 12 is gonna be super huge spike of jump in Nartus' power. From plus 11, you can see this particular skill. You can see deal defense ignoring additional damage, 250%, and there's this heal. And defense plus 100%, but yeah, this is like pretty much useless in the current meta anyways. So looking at these two skills at plus 12, boom, now you have a third skill, right? So this is basically very unique. I think it's currently unique to only Nartus and Frisia. Frisia sort of have the same thing, where she basically enters this casting ready state. At plus 12 onwards, your Nartus will only need to charge up one time. So from round 2 onwards, he will continuously attack the enemy. Round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, etc. Alright, if he actually survives that long. So Nartus do have a nullifier, so which can make him somewhat useful in the current meta if you are trying to nullify buffs from enemies. Alright, so you are trying to hopefully nullify Galenia's buff, which can be really annoying before you kill them. So which is why Nartus can be really crucial, or he can seem really strong in certain rankings, because if there's a lot of Galenia being used, Nartus can just solve that for you to nullify and kill those units, but he can only do it at round 2, right? So Taunt Ignore is also something that a lot of players are currently struggling to deal with, and he is debuff immune, of course. So when Nartus was first released, and that was like somewhere last year, everyone was like so hyped, like this range is insane. Alright, Nartus is the only unit in the game right now that can wipe out the entire lane. Okay, so the second closest is probably Alicia. Her range is gonna lag behind Nartus by 1 tile if I'm not mistaken. Short by 2 tiles actually, which is pretty insane. So you can't really compare a 4-star to a legendary anyways, right? Okay, so before we proceed with the video, I just want to clarify early on, because some people tend to misunderstand or misunderstood the point of the video. Now, this video is going to be titled, Is Nartus Worth Building in 2021? And this is not going to be, Is Nartus Worth Using? So if you're a veteran player and you already have Nartus at plus 12, plus 13, plus 14, plus 15, then yes, he's worth using in your team. Alright, especially with the current COR meta, alright, where you need 4 mages, using Nartus is not such a bad idea. Okay, so is he worth building? Now that's a different question. Alright, that's going to be more directed more towards the new players, because the new players are still deciding on which 6 devils they are going to pick, right, from the Jumpstart quest, or maybe they're deciding to pick Nartus at plus 0 and possibly try to skill him up over the course of a couple of months, which can be really risky, and that's what I want to stress out right here. Now, if you are trying to basically complete your 4 magicians requirements for Silla, Silla is probably one of the best supporter to have right now. Silla's buffs, this buff right here is not removable. It can only be removed if Silla dies. This effect will terminate when Silla dies. So basically it's irremovable, and this is a lot of buffs. This is possibly more than how much a Refutia plus 15 could give, and I don't think the amount of buffs matters. What makes this really crucial is the irremovable side of things, because this is going to help deal with a lot of annoying meta units with reflective nullifier, alright, like Velter, Mamone, and I'm sure you guys know, you might have seen before, alright, Alec might fail to kill a Mamone. Alec might fail to kill a Velter. And that's mostly because that Alec is either using Raphithia or Galenia's buff, and both of them can be nullified. And using Raphithia and Galenia might seem like a good idea at first, alright? And they can work in the lower rank, but in the higher tier arena, alright, you're gonna start seeing a lot of Mamone, and that nullifier is just gonna instantly remove those two buffs, which can be really annoying. So using Silla basically negates that. So I feel like even if you run Alec or Vals, which doesn't favor the 4 magicians, using Silla is still going to benefit you more because of this irremovability of these buffs. Alright, it's a little bit complicated, and which is why you can see, let me see if I can show you some of the top arena players. Like right here you can see, you know, Alec Vals, alright, 2 warriors, right? And he is still using Silla because it's really strong. And I think pretty much you can see the pattern right here. They are trying to get 4 mages, and even though they are using Alec and Vals, they don't go for Raphithia, Galania, or Veronia, because Silla pretty much fits the need, right? You can see Silla, Alec, Vals. Silla pretty much fits the needs of having both Veronia and Raphithia at the same time. So here's the biggest problem right now. If you use Vals or if you use Alec, right, buffing them with Raphithia alone is going to be super risky. So players would like to pair it with Veronia. But with that, you're going to need one more spot for a Veronia. But if you ditch your Veronia and Raphithia, you basically just put in a Silla alone. She can basically do that because Silla acts as a Veronia as well, if you think about it. She gives a single target buff right here, even though it's only 6 turns at plus 14. But this is insanely huge on Alec or Vals to be able to pretty much one-shot anyone. So Silla is really strong in the current meta. Okay, in PvP, I would say Raphithia is still going to be beneficial in PvE, Campaign, Evil Castle, etc. But you get the gist of it, alright? Nartus doesn't seem to solve like any huge issue that players have in the current meta, alright? So like I mentioned, because Raphithia doesn't exist in the higher tier meta, right? In the higher tier arena, Galenia occasionally may exist depending, but because most players opt to use Silla anyways, those units that they have will have irremovable buffs. So if you use Raphi, sure, Nartus can counter enemies' team by nullifying everyone, right? And also with the introduction of a lot of other, you know, new units and stuff, Nartus feels really underwhelming. So right now in the current meta, alright, who is Nartus competing with in terms of the legendary mages? So we have Silla, okay, we have something like Velfern plus 15 is also super crazy. Livia, right? So those units are essentially, in my opinion, just a better Nartus overall. So what makes Nartus really strong is the Ignore Taunt, right? It solves a lot of issues if enemies are running multiple taunts. Either that, or if enemy have taunts that cannot be removed. So Nartus basically just, you know, ignores the taunt and just go to that particular lane, that one lane, destroys everyone in that lane. And that's supposed to be Nartus's role. But right now, because Silla exists, right, she can just nullify any taunts. There's no taunter currently in the meta that she can't nullify their taunt right now. Alright, I'm not sure if once Seer comes out that will change. Maybe that will. But right now, even Gran gets countered by Silla. Alright, she just removes taunt and that solves a lot of issue. It just diminishes the needs of having a Nartus, right? And then we have Velfern as well. Now, Velfern is probably the most similar to Nartus in terms of all the legendary because of very high damage. Alright, they both deal pretty much fixed damage. Don't really deal fixed damage. His is like defense ignoring damage, but it's almost the same. Nartus can crit, Velfern can't because Velfern is fixed damage. But this goes up in proportion to the number of graves, which can be really scary later on in the game. Right now in the meta, if you think about, you know, having huge range, Velfern's one is going to be much more beneficial. But you only get this at plus 15, whereas Nartus does get his insane long tile range at plus 3. So that perhaps might seem like Nartus is going to be cheaper, but in the long run, the tankiness that Velfern has is going to prove more useful because while Nartus do have an increase of 100% defense, okay? Yeah, he get this at plus 10. But remember, If enemy has a Silla, this will be reduced by 25%. So unless you are willing to negate that by willing to equip your Nartus with one shield rune, which I've never seen done before yet. So perhaps that might be a thing in the future, but definitely that means you're sacrificing one rune literally, either running Assault or Rage. So you're decreasing your damage by a lot for survivability. Yeah, in the current meta where Sillas are everywhere, your Nartus is not going to have 100% defense, and his HP is super low. He just gets destroyed by anyone that hits front, like even a Grand or Mamonet can literally one-shot him. So in most cases, going Velfen is much more ideal because Energy Guard protects you against most things. Now, as opposed to Livia, she will always be the strongest legendary in my opinion because she is the only one with direct damage. Nartus happens to be in the same lane with a Mamonet. Nartus cannot do anything to her, alright? She is just always going to be there, standing, taking 1 million hits from the Nartus. Whatever Nartus can throw at, that Mamonet will always be able to survive. Now some of you might be saying, oh, I've seen my Nartus kill a Mamonet, but if you are in lower rank, yes, Mamonet plus 3, that's gonna work. Mamonet plus 15, most of the time, that's not going to happen. Alright, unless that enemy Mamonet that you fought against does not have any good runes. Now, I am going to say that Nartus probably has increased in terms of usage rate, not only because Silla has climbed, alright, and you need to understand this is also because of Seto's decline as well. So Seto was one of the strongest Nartus counter. It's either Grand or Seto, right? Seto deals fixed counter damage, Nartus hits that lane where Seto has, Nartus will always die. But with the reduction of Seto, this sort of make Nartus climb back up a little bit. He's not like super viable by any chance, of course, but he's still slightly better than before because now he has one less counter. Alright, although Mamonet is also a thing, while he doesn't really die to Mamonet directly, he can't really deal with Mamonet either. So that is going to be a big downside of using Nartus if you don't have a Livia paired with him or any other direct damage dealers. So yeah, with that being said, I don't think Nartus is worth building right now, especially if you're starting from ground zero at +0. I do think that Nartus is only worth building if you somewhat already have him at a relatively high skill level. By that I mean like a +6, a +8, a +9, and you want to try to increase his skill level to +12, then sure, go for it. But if you are a beginner starting out, you shouldn't try to go and pick Nartus because right there in the 6 devil selection, he is competing with all the other 6 devils, Raphithia and Alec included, which are much better choices in my opinion. And also if you are investing in Nartus from +0 or trying to get his companions, I would rather you take that resources and invest in Velfen, which in my opinion is much more future proof, or a Livia. Getting these 2 units to +15 is going to be much more beneficial in the long run. I do think that Nartus might potentially come back one day if we see more units that has relatively high HP but lack the guard type skill. Currently in the arena, in the battlefield, there's a lot of enemies that are filled with a lot of energy guard, death guard, and a lot of very annoying guard skills, and Nartus just can't deal with that with his skill. I know there are some team comps that rely heavily on buffing Nartus, alright, like Silla buffing Nartus or Veronia buffing Nartus. I'm not sure if I particularly encourage trying out those formations because those are extremely risky. If you want to try to run glass cannon build, swapping out Nartus for either Alec or Vals is gonna fit that role much better because at least you get the firepower potential in round 1 as opposed to round 2 onwards, right? So currently right now, Nartus is an average legendary at most. Alright guys, so that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Of course, I would love to hear your thoughts of Nartus, and if you guys are still building on Nartus in 2021, let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.